All right, welcome to this explainer. Today we are embarking on a really fascinating journey, connecting 4 decades of feminist thought. We're going to bridge the foundational 1980s theoretical work of the absolute legend Bell Hooks directly to the urgent on-the-ground reporting of Mikki Kendall in the 2020s. So if you've ever wondered how academic theory translates into daily survival, or, who exactly gets left out of mainstream conversations, you are definitely in the right place. Here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with Welcome to the Margin, then hit A Space of Radical Openness, Bridging 4 Decades, Hood Feminism in Practice, Survival as a Feminist Issue, and finally, Reimagining the Center.
So let's jump right into Section 1. Welcome to the Margin, the roots of the theory.
To truly grasp Bell Hooks' theory, we have to start right where she started, which was growing up in a segregated Kentucky town, observing the world from the outside looking in. When she published Feminist Theory from Margin to Center back in 1984, mainstream feminism was heavily focused on the experiences of privileged women who were already living comfortably at the center of society, and Hooks just boldly challenged this. She argued that the movement was missing a sense of wholeness, and she brought the unique lived perspective of poor, working-class Black women directly into the spotlight. For Hooks, this idea of the margin wasn't just some abstract academic concept. She literally remembered the railroad tracks that divided her town in Kentucky. On one side, you had paved streets and restaurants her family wasn't allowed to eat in, and on the other, the shacks on the edge of town where she lived. But Hooks realized something crucial here. This physical and social exclusion wasn't merely a barrier. It actually provided an incredible observational vantage point. It gave her an oppositional worldview that offered a much broader, much more complete analysis of how society actually operates.
Moving right along to Section 2, A Space of Radical Openness, the Power of Resistance. By the time she wrote her 1989 essay, Choosing the Margin as a Space of Radical Openness, Hooks was entirely reframing how we think about the margin. She insisted that we stop looking at it just as a site of deprivation or despair or lack. Instead, she claimed it as a site of radical vision. It is a place of counter-hegemonic power. It's essentially this unique space where you can conceptualize alternatives and imagine completely new worlds, precisely because you aren't blinded by the comforts of the center.
Okay, Section 3, Bridging 4 Decades, Theory Meets Reality. Let's jump forward from Hooks' foundational work in the 80s and 90s all the way to the modern day with author Mikki Kendall. Back in 2013, Kendall started the viral hashtag Solidarity is for White Women, and that eventually culminated in her 2020 book, Hood Feminism. Now, what is so fascinating about this is how perfectly the theoretical groundwork laid by Hooks maps onto Kendall's on-the-ground reporting today. I mean, they are essentially fighting the exact same systemic blind spots, just 40 years apart.
Which brings us to Section 4, Hood Feminism in Practice, the Modern Critique.
Hood feminism is fundamentally rooted in addressing basic survival needs. Kendall points out that for marginalized women, surviving, literally just putting food on the table and keeping yourself safe, is arguably far more urgent than concerning yourself with societal respectability or upward mobility in some corporate structure. Think about it. You really can't worry about breaking the glass ceiling if the floor beneath you is caving in. And this highlights a glaring disconnect. The center concerns of mainstream feminism so often revolve around equal pay, landing CEO roles, or debates over last names and body hair. And frankly, these are generally goals focused on increasing privilege. Meanwhile, the margin concerns are about food insecurity, housing, missing women, and just earning a basic living wage. A movement that is meant to be for all women far too often only centers on those whose basic survival needs are already met. Let's dig deeper into that in Section 5. Survival as a feminist issue, on the ground. A true liberation movement absolutely has to encompass the messy, practical solutions that come up in a daily crisis. If a woman is struggling to feed her kids or struggling to keep her family in safe housing, those shouldn't be cast aside as just separate economic issues. Those are foundational feminist issues. Kendall outlines some very specific, basic human needs that just inexplicably get left out of mainstream platforms. We are talking about food insecurity, the terrifying crisis of missing and murdered women, affordable housing, earning a living wage, and the very harsh realities of over-policing in marginalized communities. Take the reality of food insecurity, for example. It all starts with the lack of a living wage. Mainstream advice will often tell women to just eat healthy. But that completely ignores the fact that fresh, perishable food requires money to buy it, space to store it, and time to prepare it. And when those things aren't there, poverty forces impossible choices, sometimes between starvation and illegal work.
As Kendall bluntly points out, you simply cannot lean into corporate culture when you can't even earn a legal living wage to feed your family. Now, the data here tells a truly harrowing story. Black Americans make up about 13% of the total population, and yet they account for 34% of missing persons every single year. Kendall draws a really stark contrast here with missing white woman syndrome, that media phenomenon where cases of missing white women absolutely dominate the 24-hour news cycle. Meanwhile, marginalized women, including Black, Indigenous, and trans women of color, frequently disappear with minimal media coverage and far fewer police resources dedicated to finding them.
And we see this exact same marginalization happen with housing. True feminist solidarity must mean advocating for those who might never earn a middle-class income, because if feminism only campaigns for the upwardly mobile, it completely abandons the very women who need the most support just to simply exist in safe, affordable environments.
Finally, Section 6, Reimagining the Center, a call to action. When we pull the teachings of both Hooks and Kendall together, one massive takeaway emerges. We have to abandon the myth of the savior. Marginalized women are not some problem for privileged outsiders to come in and solve. They are the absolute experts on their own needs and their own survival. True intersectional feminism isn't about dictating what a community should prioritize. It's about listening, removing the barriers in their way, and making access to opportunity that much easier.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative thought to chew on. What would a feminism organized from the margins actually prioritize? If we centered the voices of those fighting for basic, everyday survival rather than those fighting for corporate advancement, how would our world change? Thank you so much for joining me to explore these absolutely essential texts. Keep asking the hard questions, and definitely keep looking to the margins for the answers.
Hey there, glad you stopped by. If you're feeling the vibe, stick around for a little while. Don't forget to like and subscribe, like and subscribe.